So again, the number multiplied to x is called the slope. Okay, and so now we know that when x is 0, you get 0 times 2 plus 1, which is 1. Right? So when x is 0, you're always going to get 0 plus whatever number over here is, in this case 1. All right, so if we start somewhere, we can use the rate of change to get the graph done. So if we have 2 as our slope, then we write that as 2 over 1, because we need a fraction. So the rise would be 2, the run would be 1. And so if we start at some point, we would have to go over 1 up 2, and we could get to the next point. Over 1 up 2. We could keep doing that as long as we want. Over 1 up 2. And that's very convenient to do that. Whereas if we have a negative slope, which is the second problem, for the second problem, the slope was negative, and it was negative 3x minus 4. So the y-intercept, when x is 0, this becomes 0 minus 4. That's why we call that the y-intercept, labeled b in this general form of slope-intercept form. So the number multiplied to x, we call that the slope, and that's labeled with an m. So that's negative 3. Okay. All right, so we put a 1 under it because, again, we want to use the slope, so we need a fraction. So then that means down 3, the rise, to the right 1, the run. So we can start at some point on the graph, and then we can go down 3, and then to the right 1 to get to another point. We can keep doing that, down 3 to the right 1, down 3 to the right 1. Okay, so just a quick overview. And I'm going to go ahead and pop in the chat the link to GeoGebra. I also put it on the PowerPoint as a link down at the bottom. Okay, and we'll go through. I'm going to leave one to do on your own, but I'll walk you through this using GeoGebra as well. So if you click that link, then you'll get this screen. This is probably your default screen, but if you look on the left side in this purple area, we want to be in the triangle with the circle mode. Now, GeoGebra is a little like Desmos, except it's a little more involved. Desmos is easier to do for a lot of things, but if we're going to deal with things geometrically, GeoGebra is pretty good. And so we're going to look at this point. Okay. If you want to move the graph, you got to be in move mode. Because if you click on here, it will refer to the mode you're in. So if you're not in move mode, you won't be able to do this. All right. So we're going to look at the point. I just pointed out the move mode. We'll look at the move mode a little bit later, and we're going to go to do a line. So those are the things we're going to look at. We're going to look at the line. We're also going to make some text. Okay, so move, point, text, and a line. Okay. Now with GeoGebra, you can actually export an image if you wanted to. You could not do that with Desmos too. I didn't realize it's over here at the upper top, but maybe you guys already knew that. So I'm just pointing this out. Okay, so that's very helpful. All right, so let's go ahead and do that first equation. We're going to start on the y-axis at 1, and then we're going to use this 2 over 1 slope. Okay, so that's where we're headed. We're going to start at the y-axis at 1. We're going to use the 2 over 1 slope. So I'm going to go ahead and click the point, and notice it'll give you a hint what to do. I'm going to start on the y-axis at 1 and put a dot. Now the slope was 2, so we write it as 2 over 1. We're still in point mode, so we can go up 2 to the right 1, put another dot. Now we can do the same thing. Go up 2 to the right 1, put another dot. And that's how you can graph lines using slope-intercept form. Very convenient. Okay, so again, if you click anywhere here, you're in point mode. So if you wanted to move this, you got to go to move and then move it. Otherwise, whatever mode you're in, that's what it's going to think you do. All right. Okay, now let's go ahead down here and make a line through those points. So I'm going to go ahead and click the line mode. Okay, and now notice it gives you a hint what to do. So you just got to select one point and then another point. So I'm in line mode right now. I'm going to select the point labeled A here. And then as soon as you move, notice it'll swing around. So you can put this anywhere you want. We're going to go ahead and put this on C right here. And now we have our line. Okay, let's go ahead and put some text here. And so what was the line we were graphing? Y equals 2x plus 1. So I'm going to click the text mode. And then, again, it gives you some information. So anywhere you click, it'll put a little text box. And I'm going to type y equals 2x plus 1. And then click OK, and it puts that there. So now you can go ahead, and if you want to export that image, it'll automatically take a picture of this, and that way you have that option. Of course, you know, maybe it's easier for you just to do this screenshot on your end or picture with camera, but I just wanted to point that out. Now, to me, that text is a little bit small. So I'm going to go over here to move, because if you click this now in text mode, it'll just open up that box again. So we don't want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and click the move. Now I'm going to click over the text, and it'll give you some options. So if you want to make the text size bigger, that's what this is. And then there's bold, italics. If you want to color the text differently, if you want to fill in the little box differently. But I'm going to make that a little bigger. I'm going to make it medium size. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and move it. And I'll put it right here. Okay, now the other menu options over here, GeoGebra has a separate table. We're not going to even look at that today. And the calculator, notice what it automatically does. As soon as you start putting points here, it automatically fills in these containers. And so notice it even gives you the line, including what we texted. So notice this is a little more involved. So this is a function to create a line from point A to point C, and then it's pointing at the y equals the rule. That's what that means. And if you notice, as you go down from A, B to C, notice you're adding 2 to the y's, 1, 3, 5. You're adding 1 to the x's, 0, 1, 2. That's because the rate of change was 2 over 1. And that's what this means when you go to the right 1 up 2. It means right 1, we add 1 to the old x. Up 2, we add 2 to the old y. It's really what that means geometrically. Okay, so I'm just pausing. I'm trying not to go too fast. Okay, so then we had this negative slope line. Okay, and so -3 would be -3 over 1. And when x is 0, we get 0 minus 4. -4 is the y-intercept. Okay, so I'm going to go up here. I'm going to clear this. Okay, and again, if you want to save this, you're going to have to register, and that way when you save it here, it'll link to your account. So if that's an option that you'd like to take. Okay, so again, make sure you're in triangle circle mode, and we're going to go ahead and grab a point. We're going to put the point on the y-axis at -4, and then we're going to use the -3 over 1 rise over run slope. Okay, but I'm going to hit move first because I want to kind of move this down a little bit so we have a lot more space. So right here now, -4 is there. So now I'm going to grab the point. Okay, I'm going to put that on the -4 y-axis. -3 over 1 means down 3 to the right 1. So I'm going to go down 3 and then to the right 1 and put a dot. And then repeat. Down 3 to the right 1, put a dot. Okay, now let's go ahead and put a line through that. So I'm going down here. I'm going to grab the line mode. And again, it gives you information at the bottom. And then I'm going to click on point A. And as soon as you move your cursor, notice you can swing this around anywhere. So there's an infinite amount of lines that go through the same y-intercept. The one we want is the one that had a -3 over 1 slope. And so there's that line. Now, again, if you want to do anything, keep in mind that if you're in line mode, if you click in here, it'll automatically assume you mean a line. All right, so I didn't mean that. So I'm going to go Command X. If you have a PC or Chrome, it's probably Control X. And then go up here to move. That's if that happens. All right. So this looks okay. Let's go ahead and put some text there. So I'll just click anywhere, click right there, and then we want to put what we were graphing, y equals -3x minus 4. Then click OK. And that may be good enough for you, but for me, I want that text to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the move. And now we can grab the text. If we want to move it, we can move it if we want. Put it wherever we want. Maybe you want to put it over here. If you click, it'll give you the options that we mentioned earlier. So I want to make that a little bit bigger. Okay, it looks good. And then if you want to export the image, depending on how you want to go about getting this image, this picture. Okay, and then just to point out to you, when you're doing all this in the geometry mode, the geometry section, if you click on the calculator, it automatically fills in these containers, including the text that we added. All right, so notice this is a function that's going to create a line from point A to point C and pointing at the y equals the rule. Okay, notice as you go down from A, B to C, notice you're subtracting 3 to the y's and you're adding 1 to the x's. That's what -3 over 1, the rate of change, the slope means. That's okay, so now I won't do the third one for you. So notice the rise over the run is 2 over 3. Y-intercept is 5. So you can start here at 5 on the y-axis and then go up 2 to the right 3. Up 2 to the right 3. I'll just point that out. Number 3 here, or the fourth one, my bad. y equals 7. Now that's not slope-intercept form. There's no x. There's no number multiplied to x. So you have to interpret this. This equation says the y is always 7. That's what that says. Okay, so if the y is always 7, well, that means the y-intercept is 7. So if we put a dot here on the y-intercept 7, if we go left and right, the y's will always be 7. So I'm just going this way, but notice that that's a horizontal line, which has a rise of 0, so the slope is 0. All right, and then we can go ahead and we want down here, get the line, click on 2 points, you got the equation. So notice that's always going to have a y of 7 at any point on this line, and that's what that equation means. So you got to interpret this. All right, and then notice if we go to the calculator menu, it automatically filled in all those points. Notice the y's are always 7. That's why there's no x, because the graph has nothing to do with x. Okay, so let's see what time we got. All right, and again, I'll go ahead and repeat. So I'm adding text, click anywhere, and then I'll just put y equals 7. Okay. And now if you want to go ahead and select these things, you got to get into the move mode. So if you want to select this, then you can make that bigger. If you want to move the whole graph around, you can do that. Maybe you want to put this in another place, you can do that. And then however you get it, export images is an option as well.